Well, I am used to hearing what everybody else has to say before I rate, and I have absolutely no idea if my rating is going to be higher or lower than the rest of everybody else. Then I'm bound to say a lot of things that have already been said. But I'm going to rate Nemesis a 1.5. I think that movies can fail on basically two main levels. One is that it has a terrible concept to begin with, and no amount of decent writing or execution, decent directing can save the idea. And I think that Star Trek V has that problem. But Nemesis does not. I think Nemesis falls in a second category, where it sets up initial goals and then fails at them. What I mean is, Nemesis tries to be the be-all, end-all of TNG movies. All of its advertising was, this is probably the last TNG film, and this is going to be... Well, actually, a lot of its advertising was giant action movie, but beyond that, it was also, this is going to be the TNG movie that has a big emphasis on the TNG family, on, we've followed these people for 15 plus years, and they've been together for that long, and this is their big send-off. They're all going to say goodbye. And we don't really get that with this film. In fact, all of the scenes that did do that were taken out of the movie in order for it to be a quicker paced and bigger action film. So there were 3 or 4 scenes that helped to do that, but then they were taken out. One of them was with Data. I think there was one with Worf, and I think there was one with Crusher. And as you notice, there's a trend with TNG movies where they focus on Picard and Data, and nobody else gets any kind of screen time. So that is a bigger problem even with this movie than with the other 3. I would say mostly because they seem to forget that Data has an emotion chip. And whether you're a fan of the emotion chip or not, the lack of it is, discontinuous. The Data seems to act like TNG Data, where people say things to him and he doesn't seem to understand what they're talking about solely because they're human and he's not, and that's a problem. And frankly, that's a problem with the entire movie. It seems to have, there's no real character development. There's not enough character stuff. It's all about any character stuff that's in it is simply to it simply must be somehow connected to this very contrived and convoluted plot. Let me tell you what I mean by contrived. We've got B4, who seems to only be in the film to be kind of a foil for Shinzon. Just paralleling, so that Data can have his speech to Picard about how both B4 and Shinzon aren't trying to be better than themselves, which is all well and good, and probably the best point that the film tries to make. But B4 is so contrived that I can't find it in myself to buy it. The fact that there is no even mention of lore, and certainly there would be no possibility that B4 could be lore, but just the fact that they almost, despite the fact that Picard has one line that has Sung in it, they seem to kind of just brush over the fact that, yeah, Data's had a brother. We've been here before. Nemesis is in a lot of ways a combination of a lot of bad TNG episodes. I think of Violations, and I think of Data lore. And, there's some second chances thrown in there, too, and the problem is that second chances is actually far superior in its idea and in its storyline. But when I said earlier that I think that Nemesis fails in trying to do what it set out to do, I think that its initial concept is a good one. Having a Picard clone that the Romulans make to infiltrate the Federation is kind of a neat idea. And what I wonder is why they couldn't have gone with that. Why are the Remans our villains in this movie? Why not the Romulans? And a lot of people are, I've heard complaining about the fact that the new movie is going to be Romulans, and we just had Romulans with Nemesis, and look how well that turned out. But I would say that the difference is that the Romulans aren't the villains in Nemesis. Shinzon and the Remans are, and the Romulans are kind of our allies for a minute, which is neat, and I'm sure it's going to have a lot of setup for the new movie. So I appreciate that aspect of it. I actually think the Romulans are handled pretty well. But going back to the whole idea of a Picard clone, that's an epic idea. Having this Picard clone who infiltrates the Federation, and you know, depending on how it was executed, again, it's all an execution. And I think that if they had done that, and if through part of the movie, the Picard that we think is the Picard, who we think is Picard, is actually a clone, and we don't know it until the middle of the movie, that could have been really neat. I think a lot of fun things could have been done with that. And instead, it seems like they went for the easier way, and it ends up being a more contrived and less interesting movie. Other contrived things I feel like mentioning are the fact that Worf is not only on the ship, but that he is in his old role with no explanation as to why. Of course, he would be there for you know, Troy and Riker's wedding, but he seems to be TNG Worf. He doesn't even look like DS9 Worf with the developed character, and no longer just, you know, this kind of raging Klingon animal guy who he very often sort of looked to be like in TNG. He's sort of back to his old TNG ways in this, and it's almost like they just forget about DS9 entirely. But what's annoying about that even is that, you know, with Data and Worf both with them forgetting the development that they got to, it seems like then there are places where there are little snippets of it, and so that makes it even harder to deal with. There are places where Data does seem to have his emotion chip, and there are places where Worf does seem to remember DS9 a little bit. The fact that he mentions Irving Berlin at the beginning when Data's doing his jazz song seems to indicate that he remembers Vic Fontaine, I think. So, you know, there's some stuff like that, but again, I think the biggest problem with it is that none of the characters besides Picard and Data get any kind of screen time. B, even Picard and Data don't get any interesting character development, really. And C, Shinzon makes no kind of sense whatsoever. Why does he want to destroy the Earth? I don't know. It makes sense that he's going after Picard, I guess, because he needs his big blood transfusion in order to stay alive, but even that seems kind of contrived to me. And, you know, just the fact that he's got to be a big villain to go off and destroy Earth, just so that the film could look more epic than it is what really bothers me. Because, like I said, they had such a neat idea with the Picard clone, and the fact that they had to do all of these contrived things that are really difficult to swallow is just lazy writing. It didn't need to happen. The only cool things for me about the movie are the big action things, and I don't want Star Trek to just be an action movie, but they pulled it off with First Contact being both Star Trek and an action movie. And unfortunately, this movie just doesn't feel like Star Trek. But if you could have had a movie that felt like Star Trek and still had Enterprise smashing into the scimitar, that could have been really cool. So those are my problems with it, and I hope you folks enjoyed it more than I did. It's better large, and I watched it on a regular TV, but anyway, so thanks for listening to my comments. I hope you had a good discussion, and thanks for coming to the meeting. And I will see you all on Thursday at 6 o'clock at the AMC 30. And really looking forward to it. Hope you all enjoy the little goodies I put in with your tickets. And we'll see you on Thursday for the Star Trek premiere. Bye now.